Show me the money.
All right, show me the money. NFL picks for week number 16 are here. Joining me today, we're going to have a little pity party here. Here's some grievances on Festivus. Martino Puccio is here. Martino, how are you?
Horrible. It's like bottom 3 day yesterday in my fandom of all my teams that I root for. I don't. It's still not set in stone, but every Jets fan thinks it is and knows like time is up. Just like in Back to the Future 3, you know, when the gravestone is like got Michael J. Fox's name in there, Marty McFly, or it was Doc's name, I forget, but obviously that ended up changing. It's not changing for the Jets. Like they're picking second, and there's a part of me that's scared that they might finish 3-13 and not even pick second. It's just, I can't think of a more deflating day. I think probably the worst I've felt absolutely since the Thanksgiving loss to the Pats when it was like 45-3. But obviously that was fixed with the playoff win. It's just, I mean, there's nothing. AFC, like I'd rather lose like 5 straight AFC championship games again in consecutive years than this, because this, like, you know, at least those are good teams. You're in playoffs. Like there is nothing worse than what they are right now. And that's a 1-in-15 team that's picking second potentially. So there's nothing worse than that.
Yeah, so to reset here, obviously, for those who lived under a rock for the past week, Jets went out. There were 17-point underdogs against the Los Angeles Rams on Sunday. Got out to a fast start. The Rams tried to come back, ran out of time. The Jets win 23-20, cost themselves basically the number 1 slot in the draft. The day and the Jaguars remain tied. The Jaguars end up getting the number 1 pick on the margin of the strength of schedule, which is far weaker for them than it is for the Jets. And it just makes you sit here as a Jet fan and you're just wondering one thing.
Why?
Like, why did we have to win this game?
What was it? It was up to like 17 in some places. I think
Yep.
The Rams were favored by.
Yeah,
and
17.
I mean, was it the biggest upset in franchise history since Super Bowl III?
Sounds about right.
It's the antithesis of what the outcome is for that as well. I mean, again, with the NFL and the Jets, and this is the main thing that you always talk about, because we're obviously Mets fans. That's been well documented. Like, we've seen the Mets go on great runs in the World Series. They should have won in 2015. They should have won in 2006, where they had some bad fortune there too. But we've seen them not consistently. We've seen them put out winners with the worst possible owners, and they were right on the precipice of a championship. And it's not predicated on one position. The Jets, you know, I'd rather be a Lions fan and a Browns fan any day over being a Jets fan. This team, you know, in this sport, when the only opportunity and chance that you have of winning a Super Bowl and a championship most of the time is if you have a competent enough quarterback. You have to have a good quarterback. Otherwise, you're just, you know, the 2002 Buccaneers or the Ravens with Trent Dilfer, the 85 Bears. Some of the greatest defenses of all time end up winning with, you know, what many would say, you know, a mediocre offense, but there's been talent. There were talent on those other teams on offense. There is absolutely nothing to look forward to because they can't even get a good quarterback. Like, Baker Mayfield is better than any Jets quarterback the past 10 years. Matthew Stafford is better than any Jets quarterback ever. Like, he's better than Joe Namath was. And Joe Namath is probably the most overrated quarterback to ever live. There's nothing that you could point to that you could say, okay, this is, you know, like the Jets can maybe figure this out. The coaching pool is cut in more than half now. The top options aren't even going to be considering it, because as bad as the Jaguars are in understanding how poor the organization is, they still have attractive reasons there. They have some talented offensive players. There's some talent on defense. They're going to have all their picks. You know, Trevor, they're going to have the salary cap space. So it's not all that different from the Jets, right? And if you're the Jets, like, if we were the Steelers, the Giants, or any other organizations, and we miss out on Trevor Lawrence, we would be like, okay, maybe we could find our quarterback because we've done that in the past. We don't necessarily have to have the number one can't miss guy in the draft. The Jets need that. That's their only chance that they're going to have. When have we ever sat there and said, okay, we could believe the Jets can, progress this quarterback, guide him, and let him be this star? Sam Darnold was the latest
in that
proof
list.
of it.
Yeah.
They can't do it. They ruined him. And it's obviously on him as well. You have to make the strides yourself, but it's a terrible environment for that. Who are they going to bring in that wants to come and do that? We don't even know who has the say in hiring the coach at this point. We know they have the money and the draft picks, but this is, again, it's the most meaningless win of all time, and it's going to cost them. Quinnen Williams ended up looking great, sure. Nick Bosa got hurt, right, with the Cole Beasley catch against the Giants that ended up pushing. I think it was whatever the odds were that the Jets end up winning, that it cost them the number 2 pick for Nick Bosa when everyone knew they needed pass rush. Ended up taking Quinnen Williams. Quinnen's been great. He, looked as good as Aaron Donald did yesterday. That's awesome, whatever. But who cares? It's for what now? What kind of they're in nowhere. They're in no man's land. And it's just so depressing because it's just the one year that they're clearly the worst team in football, they're picking second. Like, that's.
Yeah. And the worst part of this is, in terms of this game, you think about it, it's like, it's not even a game where they came out and they dominated from start to finish and won. You're going to say, oh, okay, well, the guys played well.
The Rams were worse. Sean McVay got outcoached by Adam Gase yesterday.
Yeah, here's what happened in that game yesterday. If you did not watch the game, the Jets got out early, had their scripted first drive, got the touchdown. They blocked the punt, got 3 points. They picked off Jared Goff, got 3 more points. Got a 4th and goal touchdown from Frank Gore, had a 20-3 lead, and just basically turtle football the rest of the way. And we saw Sam Darnold throw for just over 200 yards, barely had 6 yards an attempt. Frank Gore had 23 carries at 59 yards and a touchdown, had the big catch to seal the win. What am I getting excited about from this game? This is not interesting football to watch.
It was so disastrous, too, because everyone knows, if you watch Jared Goff, and I think this is absolutely true, whenever he starts off, the first 2 drives of watching Jared Goff, if he's going to have a good game or not. What version you're going to get of him. I think a lot of the time there's it's probably a 35% chance you get a really good version of Jared Goff that could help you lead you to the Super Bowl. And then you get the 65% is what we saw yesterday. And it's just a player it's not great. And Sean McVay, that last drive, man, those 3rd and 4th down play calls, throwing passes like they did, was just so devastating to watch. They were getting awful penalties at some of the worst times too. The turnovers, obviously. And it's just annoying because now Sam Darnold plays great. Now they want to make one of the bigger upsets in team history by 16.5 points. Are we kidding here? Why couldn't we get this when we faced the Pittsburgh Steelers? Why couldn't we hold on against the Indianapolis Colts in 2010 in January, where we could have gone to the Super Bowl? Why does it have to be now that you guys pull this off in the most meaningless win ever? Because this is the same thing that I knew they sucked the year Andrew Luck was going to be the number 1 pick, and I wanted them to lose out. They didn't do it. I know the year when Marcus Mariota and Jameis Winston were the top guys, but that was not the same as Luck and Trevor Lawrence.
They always do this. They always find a way that last week or 2 of the season, when they're completely out of it, they're like, oh, now we'll win. We're going to ruin your entire year and say, oh, here we go. Now's our victory. And this is not even one where Sam Darnold played great. He was average yesterday. This is one where the defense and special teams carried him, and they just literally just took the air out of the football the second half.
And they were still running Frank Gore plenty enough to the fact that he was, effective. Scoring on the 4th down, touchdown. It's just, the punts were great. Braden Mann was, making open play tackles, saving touchdowns. It's frustrating because there are bright spots, but it's all meaningless if you don't have a quarterback, and they don't. And it's sad because I do like Sam Darnold. I do think there's a critical learning period where they have for kids. When kids are 3 to 4 years old, there's a critical learning period that psychologists talk about. I think that that's a thing with quarterbacks in the NFL. If you don't get rid and fix and get into good habits your first 2 to 3 years in the league, then you're shot. Like the odds of like Sam Darnold and the Jets figuring out in this environment where, you know what, whatever, say they take Penny Sewell, like some people want, like trade back a couple spots like the Colts did a few years ago when we traded up with them, beef up that offensive line and try and work it out with Sam Darnold. Like, how many coaches out there that are great that want to come in and help Sam Darnold and fix it? Like, who are the offensive gurus? Like, are you really going to be able to convince Joe Brady? Are you going to be able to do like a John DiFilippo?
Arthur Smith.
Yeah. Does freaking Matt Campbell want to leave Iowa State? Pat Fitzgerald was another name linked with Northwestern. And then I believe the other one obviously was Bill Cowher. How many of those guys are just spurned to this situation that they don't want to come here? And we can say the silver lining, it's very hard and difficult to look at, but are we really going to want to sit here and say, yes, we have Joe Douglas. People want to come here because of Joe Douglas. But are we sure they want to? And why isn't Adam Gase fired today? Wasn't the whole point of keeping Adam Gase to go 0-16? Why is he not fired now? They don't want to fire him after a win. They're 1-13. They're absolutely pathetic. They got a game gifted to them because the Rams were looking past to the next game. Like it's the worst. It's the worst situation that could have possibly happened to them. Be so awful, not have your quarterback solidify himself as a future and lose out on the best talent since Andrew Luck. It's the worst.
Yeah, it's not good. And two other things I want to get to real quick before we get into next week with the Browns. Number one, the whole crowd of, oh my God, Trevor Lawrence is going, his career is saved. But then today's people always want to say, like, he's going to Jacksonville, and they've done such a great job developing quarterbacks like Blake Bortles, Blaine Gabbert, David Garrard, Byron Leftwich. They're a real quarterback factory down there.
Yeah, no, if there's actually a franchise that's just as bad as producing, quarterbacks, it's the Jets. Like, seriously, I was talking to this with my friends last night. Think about the best ever singular season for a Jets quarterback was Ryan Fitzpatrick.
Yeah.
A single season of Ryan Fitzpatrick is your best ever quarterback. Who is the best ever wide receiver for a single season in the Jets? A year of Brandon Marshall? We had Curtis Martin. Yeah, that's cute. That's great. What else do we have that we could hang our hat on? And Trevor's not saved down there.
No, he's
not at all. Like Chenault, Chark, cool. Robinson. I mean, it's just why? It's Doug Marrone even going to be there? No, he's not going to be there. Shad Khan, probably a worse owner than Woody and Christopher Johnson. Not Woody, but not Christopher probably, but Woody's better. But I mean, it's not that he's saved. And the other part that pisses me off too, Mike, and you know this true, and we said this with the group chat that we have with Will, they're all coming out saying, why does the worst team deserve to have the number 1 overall pick when it was the Jets that were in the driver's seat for it? The second the Jacksonville Jaguars get the pick, everyone's on board with it. It's great. The Jets are the butt end of every joke. They have to be pointed towards as the only franchise that ruins quarterbacks and doesn't produce a good one. It's always them. It's no one else, right? The Browns, yeah, why can't they make Baker Mayfield work? The Jaguars, oh, they're saved. They got Trevor Lawrence. He's absolutely going to be a stud over there. Joe Burrow goes to the Cincinnati Bengals, who obviously have a great track record of quarterbacks there too, right? They're great. It's always when it's the Jets. They're always the punchline. They're always the joke. And it's worse to be a fan of them because they're always in the spotlight of the media. For all the wrong reasons. The Jacksonville Jaguars could not be any more irrelevant. If the Jaguars missed out on Trevor Lawrence, who actually cares? No one's going to make jokes about them about it. It's only the Jets that they're going to make fun of. And it's just so annoying because we're not even the likable and lovable losers like the Cubs were back in the day. Like we're hated and we're awful and we're poorly ran and it's just embarrassing because it's every time they just need something to go their way. Just whenever, the Mets, they have Jacob deGrom. They have Pete Alonso. They've had Mike Piazza. The Knicks have had, Carmelo Anthony.
Patrick Ewing.
They had Patrick Ewing, Bernard King. They won a couple of titles there. The Jets have nothing. The Sack Exchange, a couple of cute Rex Ryan teams, Belichick and Parcells for whatever many years. Failures. All of it. And it's just the worst franchise. And And it's just demoralizing. And it's because, I remember even in our grad program, I think we were having the conversation and you were there before one of Rick Cerrone's classes. And we were talking with Jersey Joe Archino, and he goes, yeah, so like, what would you do if the Jets won the Super Bowl? I'm like, I haven't ever thought about it, like seriously try to sit down and imagine it, because
It's not
I just
realistic.
don't think it's in the realm of possibility. And I truly mean that. Like, I genuinely think there will be a cure for cancer before the Jets win the Super Bowl. I seriously think that. And whenever that happens, like I do. And it's not even just a Super Bowl thing at this point, Mike. I just want a quarterback. Can I
Yeah.
just have a good quarterback that's a Pro Bowler? Can I watch a guy that's like fun? Like, give me Dan Marino. I sign up for Dan Marino any day of the week. If we don't win a Super Bowl, whatever. Like, even if we don't even get to one, if we have one of the best quarterbacks in the league, like, at least give me that. I don't even have that. It's
Yeah.
the worst.
That's problem number one. Problem number two is now we're hearing all the players are basically mouthing off about how, oh, you fans don't like us. We can't, like, you didn't want us to win. And I mean, we heard Con McGovern talk about this last week, and then we got this brilliant gem from Mekhi Becton yesterday. And I'm going to play this clip from SNY social media page of him talking to Sports Illustrated, talking to Janae Coakley on SNY. And he was talking about what was wrong with the Jets here and what's wrong with the Jet fans. So let's hear from Mekhi.
What do you say to the fans who wanted you guys for that number one pick to keep on losing? What do you say to fans?
You ain't really a fan of anyone to win, honestly. I mean that in the nicest way possible. I don't mean that in a disrespectful way, but I mean, if you wanted us to lose, you're not a real fan. We don't work too hard to just go out there and just take a loss every week.
Again, Mekhi, I love you. You're a great player. But at the same time, like, you are going to be here for like 10 years. Like, we're committed to the franchise for life. And you can understand that, like, we just want to win and we want the best quarterback. One win, make us go 1-13 is not going to make us very happy.
No, it makes no one happy. What good does it do for them? They're happy that they went 1-15 and they got a win against us. Like, what is it going to do? No one respects you any more than they did 24 hours ago. This is the most pathetic and worst thing that you could ever want. It's short-sighted by people who are saying that. It's also said by players. By the way, the NFL has the shortest career span of any sport possible. These players, if they're here, what are the odds of, like, who's going to be here 5 years from now? How many times do we go through Jets rosters and be like, oh, they have absolutely nobody left over from the 2017 NFL draft? That's how bad it is. Guys aren't staying here for more than 2 to 3 years, whether or not they don't want to stay, whether or not they're NFL quality. Like, they're gone. We're stuck here. We've been here. It's been over 20 years now, just for me. Obviously, I'm 25. I'm going to be 26, right? Like, it's different for the other guys that are 50, 60-year-old fans that have been around forever, like the Mike DeMurgises of the world. Like, it is, we're here all the time. We needed something that helps the future 10 years from now. This hurts us. Everybody knows that. Like, how can you, it's short-sighted to say, listen, do I want to see the Jets go 1-15? No. Do I want them to lose every week? No. But what I want is for the best of the team and the franchise's future. And in our best interest, it is to lose and get the best player possible. It's the same thing all the time. You hear it in the NBA draft with the lottery. Well, you shouldn't want your team to lose. You're not a real fan because you don't want your team to lose. Yeah, well, I want my team to win. And the best possible route for them to eventually win is getting the best possible goddamn quarterback prospect since Andrew Luck, who was, by the way, the best and clear-cut prospect that we've seen since Peyton Manning. And they're saying Trevor is just as good, if not better. This guy is a winner. He's a program changer. Dabo Swinney, it talks about it. Like, when Dabo puts his name next to a player, calling Deshaun Watson Michael Jordan, going to the Texans, by the way, changes everything around over there, despite B.O.B. And we know there are other issues that they're going to be having for a while and what they're doing to him, but they at least got him and they're figuring it out. Like, if the Jacksonville Jaguars do end up getting Trevor Lawrence, which I probably will.
Yeah, there's one path where they don't.
Superstar.
There's one path where they don't, and I'll get with that quickly. It's basically like they have to win one more game, and I think the spot here is if they do not beat Chicago next week, if they don't beat Chicago at home, they're not beating the Colts who have everything on the line week 17. So if the Bears win this week, he's going to
There's always the angle, like if they play him tough and Phillip Rivers just has his usual choke job at the end of a football game. But the way the Colts are playing right now, they're so great. Even the Bears, man. The Bears are on a hot stretch. They've scored over 30 points in 3 straight weeks for the first time in years. I think it was 7 years maybe or
Yeah.
something like that is the stat I was reading. Like the Bears are catching hot form. The Browns are banged up now. The Pats are playing terrible that they might lie down like dead dogs in week 17, which is, every paranoid Jets fan's nightmare is, Bill Belichick losing to us when he doesn't need to lose to us. Like, of course he's going to lose to us now. The one year the Patriots are awful is when we need them to beat us. They're beating us twice every year forever. Now they can't. Like they just squeaked by beating us in the middle. Like it's just everything that we needed to go well when we're at our worst. There's everyone else is just also at their worst. Like it's just you can't make it up. But at the same time, if you told me prior to the season the Jets will have their worst team that we've ever seen, but they're not going to pick first, would you believe me? I said yeah, because things wouldn't go our way like that. Because when have they ever gone our way? And they're not going to, and Will was right too, by the way, in our group chat, like the Jets have to start making your own luck, which I absolutely do believe in because I don't think everything is predicated on luck. But when you're this hopeless and this inept of a franchise, you're relying on luck. And that's all you got. Because as Jets fans, how many times did we say, Mike, all we have is hope? And now we don't even have that. Then what's the point?
Yeah, because you look at what's going on with them right now. Basically, they drew their own really bad luck because I did the research on this. I saw this possibly happening yesterday. The only other time in NFL history a team went 1-15 did not get the number 1 overall pick was in 2002 when the Carolina went 1-15 and was blocked out of the first pick because the Houston Texans were an expansion team and got it or handed to them automatically. This is a first in the NFL, but at the same time, like the Jets as a franchise need to, as Will said, make their own luck. They will have a pick to get a quarterback and they can develop him. I mean, Deshaun Watson is picked 7th in his draft. Patrick Mahomes went 10th. Like, I mean, if you don't get this generational quarterback, you should be able to hire a coach to develop your quarterback, as a competent franchises do. Like, you're asking them to develop competence. You're hoping that Christopher Johnson gets out of the way, lets Joe Douglas fire Gase and pick the next coach, because I trust that Douglas has the ability to eye talent and find guys, because we've seen his draft has looked pretty good, but we can't have the meddling going on. That's the problem.
You can, and you have to have a solidified franchise. Like, what's the situation with Woody? We have no clue on that. Maybe we'll find out, obviously, after week 17, and we'll see. We obviously saw him reply to Brandon Tierney on Twitter. He had his coffee moment, as you put it in the chat. What's the selling point to some of these coaches? Like Trevor Lawrence is great. There's a lot of draft picks, sure. Are there guys that are still fans of Sam Darnold? Yeah, maybe. I do think there's franchises interested in trading for him. I think you still see the talent there, but it's nothing like, are we going to win a Super Bowl with this guy? No. I think it's past it, obviously. I think they ruined him to the extent and the point that your roster is going to be completely flipped, considering the fact that you have to pay him and you're going to have less than salary cap. What if Joe D does like Jeff Wilson? Because he wasn't the one who drafted Sam Darnold at the end of the day, right?
Nope.
What if he does want his guy in here on top of the coach that he's going to be bringing in? What if he wants to go with this route? Hey, do you like Jeff Wilson too from BYU? Are you a Justin Fields guy? Are you a Trey Lance or a guy that you would like to have there? It's just tough because, Jeff Wilson, I do think is a very talented quarterback, but there's just, you have to get guys on the same page for this. What's the route Joe D wants to go in? Does Joe D want to get a CEO, Joe Judge type, or does he want the hotshot young offensive coordinator and go the Arizona Cardinals route with Cliff Kingsbury in a Joe Brady of the world and all the other guys that you listed earlier? There's just so many more question marks now that pop up on top of the Trevor Lawrence thing. Because Trevor Lawrence, it's a lock, and then you pick whatever head coach you want because he's going to want to come here and obviously run his stuff with Trevor. Now you don't have that. It's just, it's like Brody Van Wagenen said, we want to eliminate the ifs. About 15 more just popped up yesterday after that loss.
Yeah, the way I look at it is basically, hey, here's what you do. It's like you go to your candidate to say, look, like, I'm not wed to Sam. If you tell me, like, you sell me on your plan, like what quarterback we should take and what we should do here. Like, if you want to work with Sam, tell me how we're doing it. I have all these picks. I have all this cap space. I can do whatever we want with the roster. Pretty much, there's nothing bolted down the floor except for this year's draft picks and Quentin Williams. So anything else, you can do whatever you want. I think that's the route you're going to hire a coach. But let's get to why you're here, because I mean, we're not going to waste our time on the Browns, because the Browns not going to take the Jets lightly after what they saw last week. They will find a way to come out and win this game. So the Jets will be on a 1-14 next week.
I hope. They got no offensive line injuries, but I just hope. Who knows?
Well, that was the one where, like, you're gonna play that tape, Kevin Stefanski, and say, hey, we can't throw our helmets out on the field. These guys, look what happened to the Rams. Especially when we're going there.
I agree. No, I totally agree with what you're saying, but we just beat a team that was favored by 16.5 points. I can't. I'll be like, nothing is out the window if, it's whatever. But yes, continue though.
All right.
So I'm so defeated.
Yeah. Let's reset the picks here. So picks challenge here. My friend Justin Diaz was here last week for Team Challengers. He went 2-1 on the week. He had his picks. He took the Chargers getting the 3.5 on Thursday against the Raiders. They ended up winning the game outright. He took the Miami Dolphins laying the 2.5 against the Patriots. They won, knocked New England out of playoff contention. He also lost with the Packers laying the 8.5 against the Carolina Panthers. A bad beat there at the end because obviously Carolina got the field goal covered. On the other hand, I had a very bad week last week. I had my second 0-3 of the season.
No, God! No, God, please, no! 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 No!
Yep, so a good 0-3 week for me last week. I had the Bucks laying 6 in Atlanta against the Falcons. They fell way behind early, came back, and not cover the number in the end of the day. I had the Niners laying 3 against the Cowboys. They just got beaten that game. And I picked against the Jets. I took the Rams. So once again, not a good finish for me there. As of on the year, Team Challengers is 24-20-1. I'm 26-19. The gap is close significantly, Martino.
It is. I just want to send my condolences to you for last week. That's horrible. On top of the Jets 0-3, but geez. I mean, when it rains, it pours, Mike. But the gap is getting close. But you got a little bit of a healthy lead there.
I'm up like a game and a half, basically.
Yeah, basically. Yeah. I mean, look, it's not bad shape. Anytime you're in the green, by the way, like if you're over 50%, you're doing great. So say that.
Yeah, we'll say that. Let's go to the picks of the week. Martino, as the guest, you were up first. Where are you going with pick number 1?
I'm going with the Miami Dolphins at -2.5. Look, anytime you come in and you beat Bill Belichick as a rookie quarterback, how much confidence do you think you could have? Their defense is absolutely unbelievable. The Raiders are just free falling. They only play well against the Chiefs. This number isn't that big at all. I think the Dolphins can win this by, 5 to 6 points. And that's where the Dolphins' strength is in their secondary. That's where the Raiders' strength is in their secondary. I know they're at home. They play well. They're going to put points up. But Miami can hang with teams. They're going to be getting players back. They didn't have Devontae Parker-Gesicki last week. They were missing running backs. If they get healthier, which I think they do, I like jumping on this number early. So that's why I went with -2.5.
Yeah, I think that's a good pick on your part because the Raiders are a complete free fall. We saw what happened to them last. We don't know if Derek Carr will be healthy enough to play in this game. And the Dolphins have defense, and defense travels. I like that pick. Where are you going with pick 2?
Pick 2, I'm going with the Kansas City Chiefs. -10. The Falcons, man, listen, honestly, if there is a more depressing fan base or franchise to root for other than the Jets, is probably the Atlanta Falcons. Each single week, Mike, I don't know if you see it on Twitter, it grows bigger and bigger of a collage of all the screenshots of scores of where the Falcons are up by double digits, and they end up losing all those games. They invent ways to lose, and they invent ways to lose big. The Kansas City Chiefs are on fire. They're healthy. Everyone's contributing. Le'Veon Bell just got a touchdown last week. I'm not betting against Patrick Mahomes. -10 at Arrowhead just feels like a lock to me. I think they could win this by 15.
Yeah, I think it's also a game where it's Christmas weekend. Atlanta's going nowhere. Are they really going to care when they're flying out to Kansas City on Christmas Day to get ready for this game? I don't think so. I like that pick as well. Where are you going for your last pick?
My final pick is the Seattle Seahawks -1.5. Listen, the Seahawks have a lot on the line here. The Rams just laid a goose egg. Obviously, this one is close with the -1.5. Seahawks defense is getting better, but how can you not trust Jared Goff after what just happened? DK Metcalf did have a little bit of hamstring tightness, so we'll see how he goes there. But I think Tyler Lockett and Russell Wilson alone is enough. DJ Dallas is injured in this, so that's going to be a little bit of a killer. But slowly but surely, Chris Carson is getting healthier. I think they have more than enough, and I'm not convinced the Rams are bouncing back and going to have a good week after what just happened to the Jets. Yes, I could see the angle where people are saying they're going to come out and not play as poorly after that because you really can't. But then again, I feel like this number is so low and the Seahawks have such a great offense. But I will say this pick could be very bad if DK Metcalf doesn't play, because then you're looking at Tyler Lockett against Jalen Ramsey, and that's not something I love. But I'm basing this off of DK Metcalf being healthy enough because he did come back in that game. So for me, I'm taking the Seahawks there. But this is, out of all the three picks, the one I'm most skeptical about. But again, it's just -1.5. The number isn't that large.
Yeah, I mean, the way you look at it is like if they win that game, you're winning the pick. That's the way you got to look at it.
Yeah, even if you wanted to buy half the point as well, right? Because it's at -115 at the -1.5. They give you odds like that in certain places, and especially FanDuel too. So if you're able to just buy that point, like, do it. I don't think like Seattle is going to blow them out. I think it's going to be a shootout as well. The total in that game is pretty good at 47.5. As a side note, I know I like to do spreads, but yeah, I'm confident in the Seahawks, and another bad week for the Jets as that pick gets worse.
Yeah, indeed. Let's go to my picks now. Pick number 1. I'm going to go back to the Saints. They're laying 7 on Christmas against the Vikings at home. This is where I look at it and say the Vikings are in trouble. They're 6-8. They're heading over to New Orleans on Christmas Day. They know they're pretty much dead. They're not going to the playoffs. This is a game where I don't think they're going to show up in this game. New Orleans has a lot to prove here. They need to get the win to win the division. They're laying only a touchdown. Drew Brees looked pretty good in his first game back. The Vikings tease and suspect at times. The Saints defense is still very good. They'll shut down Dalvin Cook. I think this game is going to be very ugly very quick. So I'm going to lay the 7 with the Saints, pick number 1.
Listen, Saints are tough. Michael Thomas hasn't really been there, but they obviously have enough. Sean Payton outsmarts pretty much everyone. I don't know. 7 feels like a big number. I wouldn't be shocked, considering it's the Saints in the Dome, short week. Don't trust Kirk Cousins at all. How could you? So yeah, I mean, I could definitely see this going down. I could see it going up to around a potential 9 points.
All right, that's pick number 1 for me. Pick number 2, I'm going to take a dog here. Probably might be optimism on my part. I'm going to take the Jags getting the hook to 7.5 against the Bears at home. I feel like this is one where now everybody's going to start hopping on the Bear train. I've seen Bear fans say, "Oh, Mitchell Trubisky's the future again. We're going to win out and go to the playoffs. We're 9-7. We're get in." This could be a big trap game for them. They got the game against the Packers next week. Jacksonville does play better than they've shown us against the Ravens yesterday. Gardner Minshew was capable of throwing some touchdowns even in this game. I like that I'm getting the hook here at the 7.5. I think this is a touchdown game either way. So give me the Jazz getting the points, pick 2.
Yeah, I think the Jags are going to keep this close. They keep a lot of games close. I know last week it's a little bit of an aberration, an outlier, if you will. At the end of the day, listen, the Jaguars will probably lose this game considering how great the defense is, but you'd never know. If they keep it close enough, they keep this, like a 20-14 kind of game, I think they have an opportunity to end up eventually winning. But I do think a cover is in play because they play a lot of teams close, and eventually I think Mitch Trubisky is going to end up turning back to his usual self.
Yeah, that's pick 2. Pick number 3. I'm going to take a favorite here. I feel like it's not getting enough respect on the early line here. I'm going to take the Steelers laying 3 at home against the Colts. And this is more of an anti-Colt pick because the Steelers have a phenomenal defense. I know they haven't played great of late, but at the same time, this team still has 11 wins. This is a great home team. They have great defense. Phillip Rivers is turnover prone. This team has struggled mightily to get past the Texans in 2 of the past 3 weeks. I feel like there's been big mistakes time for Phillip in this game. I think this is one of the Steelers are going to make a statement here and show like, hey, we're not being slept down here. I'm only laying 3. Give me the Steelers laying 3 at home against the Colts. Pick 3.
Yeah, I agree with all the points you made. I don't trust Phillip Rivers. Anytime, he gets pressure on him, he has that lame duck arm. He's not mobile whatsoever. The receiving corpse for them, I like Pittman. I'm a fan of him. T.Y. could still be productive, but it's really predicated on the running game. Jonathan Taylor has played better in recent weeks, but he's inconsistent with it. They've been using Jacoby Brissett at some points too, so we'll see what happens there. But again, Steelers at home. They've been playing rough the past couple of weeks. It's really hard to go against Mike Tomlin here. For me, it's just, again, I agree with you. The Phillip Rivers angle. I can't trust him. I don't think he's good enough anymore. And you know what? The Steelers are primed here to try and lock up one of the better matchups in the AFC playoffs. So for me, I agree with this too. I think it's a good pick.
All right, so to reset the picks of the week, Martino has gone with the Chiefs laying 10 at home against the Atlanta Falcons. He has gone with another favorite in the Miami Dolphins, laying 2.5 on the road against the Las Vegas Raiders. And the Seattle Seahawks laying 1.5 against the Rams, fresh off of their big loss to the Jets. I am taking the Saints laying 7 on Christmas Day against the Minnesota Vikings. The Jacksonville Jaguars as 7.5-point home dogs against the Chicago Bears. And the Pittsburgh Steelers laying 3 at home against the Colts on Sunday. Those are your picks for week 16 on the podcast. Coming up next, we're going to wrap up the regular season. Alan Austin's going to be here. We're going to talk about the Giants. They're probably not going to the playoffs, but I do think interesting offseason ahead for them.
Yeah. Look, it's one of those years, I guess you could hope you just make strides, which I think they did, but they're going to be kicking themselves in the behind simply because it felt like a missed opportunity for them. But you know what? Injuries occur. I think it was an important year. I'll say this. I know a lot of Giants fans are upset that they played well enough that it might save Dave Gettleman's job, which is, I don't know what you think about Dave Gettleman. I think there's a lot more apologists than I think there should be, but man, I think it's a poor decision. I think there was just too many mistakes that have set them back and put them in these positions. Like if he did a better job in recent years with building this roster, they would have won the division. I think he's one of the main reasons why they're missing out. If they do eventually end up missing out.
Yeah, we'll see what happens there. Martino, thanks for all the time. I really appreciate it. Before I let you go, people follow you on social media, keep up with some of the stuff you're doing.
Yeah. You could follow me at Martino Puccio on Twitter. It's a bunch of soccer stuff, obviously recently. More exciting Mets stuff as we get closer, hopefully, as well. The State of Play podcast, you guys could listen to that if you're interested in all the soccer stuff as well. Listen, I don't know. Maybe we get lucky and the Jags somehow beat the Bears and we lose out. It would have to be a miracle, but like you said, we don't get Steve Cohen and Trevor Lawrence in the same year. Beggars can't be choosers. We get one of the two, and I'll take Steve Cohen for now.
Yeah, all we want for Chris is for Mitchell Trubisky to turn into a pumpkin.
Please, for the love of God, I just, some positive news. And it's not to say, maybe, hey, Jeff Wilson could be a good player one day, but I'm not banking on that at all or ever.
All right, Martina, thanks again. Up next on the holiday special, we're going to actually chat with Alan Austin. We're going to do a little bit of a pop culture draft in terms of our favorite holiday media to consume over the Christmas period right after this.